My name is Daniel Harrow, 62 years old, a retired military technician who never made much noise in a city built on people who shout. In my own family, Veronica's family, I was the quiet outsider, married into a world of sharp suits, old money, and secrets spoken only behind glass doors. I was never the heir, never the favorite, never the one anyone expected to matter, and maybe that's why the disappointment cut deeper. Even after 34 years of marriage, I always felt like a guest in my own life, a man standing just outside the frame, but nothing prepared me for the day my wife died. And the judge revealed the one thing she left me that would burn my world to the ground. And that's the moment I realized her will wasn't just a goodbye, it was a warning. It was the kind of courtroom that didn't smell like justice. Too much perfume, too much air conditioning, too many eyes watching, and none of them kind. Mark Blake, Veronica's son from her first marriage, sat 3 seats away from me, custom suit, hands folded, smirk ready. Gideon Stark stood like a statue near the judge's bench. Attorney, old friend of Veronica's, cold, composed, unreadable. When the judge began reading, I already knew something was wrong. You can tell when your name is an afterthought. To the Blake Harlow Charitable Trust, the judge read, I bequeath the entirety of my estate, including the primary Los Angeles residence, financial assets, and all holdings in her investment portfolio. I didn't breathe. And to Mr. Daniel Harrow. A pause, a glance. I leave the deed to the property located at 1523 Industrial Crescent, Vernon, California. A garage. That's what she left me. A run-down, rust-caked memory in the ass end of the city. Mark turned to me, his voice soft, laced with venom. Guess she thought you'd like something more, your speed. He patted my shoulder. I didn't move. My hands trembled. My mind didn't. She wouldn't have done this. Not her. Not after everything. Not after the nights I held her hand through chemo. Not after the promises. Unless she meant me to look. Unless that garage wasn't junk. Some doors are meant to be opened last, she'd once said. Out of nowhere, sitting in the kitchen at 3 a.m. I thought it was the morphine talking. Maybe it wasn't. Cut. Outside the courthouse, I lit a cigarette. I hadn't smoked in 8 years. Didn't care now. I needed the burn. That's when I saw her. A woman in a gray coat, leaning against a black sedan, blonde hair tucked into her collar, sunglasses too dark for 10 a.m. She wasn't looking at me, but she wasn't looking at anything else either. She lifted a phone to her ear. He's out. The garage is in play. Cut. Back inside, Gideon packed up papers. Never looked my way. Gideon. My voice cracked, quieter than I meant. He turned slowly, smiled like a man offering poison in crystal glass. She wanted everything clean, he said. You were always the mess. A quote hit me from nowhere, something Veronica once whispered during an argument. The truth doesn't care who bleeds. It just wants out. Cut. By the time I got back to the parking garage, my name was already gone from the Family Trust website. I wasn't just excluded. I was erased. They didn't want me to ask questions. That garage was supposed to shut me up. Too bad I was already wide awake. The judge said the garage was worthless. But then why the hell is someone already watching it? The sky over Vernon was the color of gunmetal and lies. I parked 3 blocks from the garage. Didn't want anyone knowing I was there. Not yet. Not until I knew what this was. Industrial Crescent looked like the last place you'd bury a secret. Shuttered warehouses, chain-link fences, oil stains that never dried. Somewhere nearby, something metallic clanged, a slow, dragging sound, like a warning. I walked fast, kept my head down. The garage was at the end of the block, number 1523. Half the numbers had peeled off the steel door. The rest were spray-painted over in red. Some tag I didn't recognize. I reached for the key. My hand hesitated. You hesitate, you lose, Veronica used to say. Even if you're wrong, you move first. I moved. The key turned with a grinding shriek. The lock popped. Door creaked open 3 inches before stopping cold. I shoved harder. Dust exploded into the air like ash from a ruined cathedral. Inside was nothing. Then everything. Cut. First glance. Broken shelves, scattered boxes, tires like rotting donuts. One cracked fluorescent tube dangled from a wire like a noose. The place was colder than it should be. There was no power, no windows, and yet The air felt stirred, disturbed. I moved deeper, step by step, boots crunching grit. Then I saw it. Under a canvas tarp perfectly cut and fitted sat a shape too precise to be junk. I pulled the cover. Chrome, glass, leather, a 1968 Aston Martin DBS, deep gray, polished like it had just rolled off the line. No dust, no decay. That's not storage. That's maintenance. My breath fogged the air. The trunk was slightly ajar. I opened it. Standard lining. Clean. Too clean. My fingers traced the edge. A bump. I pushed. Click. False panel lifted. Inside, a rectangular black case, locked with a digital pad. No brand. Military grade. Scratches near the latch, as if someone had tried to force it open and failed. The number pad blinked red once, then dead. Cut. Footsteps outside. Soft. Deliberate. I dropped the panel back, slid the trunk closed, killed my flashlight. The sound stopped. Then, 3 sharp knocks on the metal door. I didn't breathe. Another knock. Then silence. I crept toward the side window, cracked, coated in grime, barely enough to see through. A figure. Coat. Hood. Still. They turned, slowly, and walked away. 5 seconds later, tires screeched on the road. Gone. Cut. Back inside, the cold bit deeper. I moved fast, scanned shelves, drawers, tools, found an old burner phone in a toolbox. Battery intact. 1 contact saved. I tapped the number. It rang twice. Then a voice. Female. Low. Calm. Sharp. You're not supposed to be there yet. Who is this? I asked. The one trying to keep you alive. Don't open that case. Not without me. What the hell is in it? Proof, she said. And leverage, which means you just became a target. Click. Cut. I heard the car return before I saw it. Low engine. No headlights. I dropped behind the car. Reached for the tire iron. Silence. Then, a metallic clink at the back wall. Drilling. Concrete flaking. A hole being made. Not to get in. To install something. I darted for the breaker panel, dead. Then a spark. Orange flash from the hole. I dropped. A gas smell seeped through. They're rigging this place. To burn. Panic clawed up my spine. I kicked the side door. Locked. Window. Too small. Back to the trunk. The car key was taped inside the glove box. Engine roared. Lights flickered. I slammed the gear into reverse, aimed at the half-open front gate. Foot down. The Aston screamed forward. Metal crashed. Sparks flew. The door burst open, fragments flying. I didn't stop until I hit the street, tires howling, breath heaving, chest pounding. I looked in the rear view. The garage stood dark, silent, waiting. I wasn't alone in that garage, and whoever was out there wasn't just watching. I didn't stop the car until I hit the 3rd red light, and even then I barely touched the brakes. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. My lungs were tight. The garage had been booby-trapped. Someone expected me. Someone wanted it gone. But they didn't want me gone. Not yet. I pulled into a back alley behind a shuttered strip mall, killed the engine, and listened. No sirens, no footsteps, just my pulse in my ears. You don't rig explosives for drama. That was meant to erase something. I opened the glove box. Still taped inside. The case. Matte black, seamless, 1 keypad. No labels. I stared at it. My whole life's been spent taking orders. But this was something else. This was Veronica giving me orders from the grave. Trust is the most dangerous kind of currency, she once told me, and the one you never get to spend twice. Cut. The burner phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Same voice. You made it out. You didn't say there'd be a damn bomb, I snapped. She didn't answer. Then, they know you opened the garage. That was the tripwire. Who are they? Another pause. The people who made Veronica disappear. Cut. My throat dried. I heard it. Past tense. Disappeared. She didn't die of cancer, the voice said. That was the cover. She was going to blow the whistle. You were her backup plan. The will was her insurance. I froze. Every memory. Hospital beds, cold skin, last breaths, cracked like glass. She left me nothing, I said. A garage. That's not backup. That's insult. No, the voice said. That's the vault. You just haven't cracked it yet. The line went dead. Cut. I checked the trunk again, tucked under the spare tire. A second phone. Older, burned, but active. I powered it on. 1 voicemail. Veronica's voice. If you're hearing this, Daniel, I'm so sorry. I didn't tell you the truth. I thought I could fix it before it reached you. But now, if they've activated the trust, it means they buried me first. Silence. Then, don't trust Gideon. And for God's sake, don't trust Mark. Cut. Headlights swung into the alley. I ducked. A black SUV, tinted windows. It didn't slow, but it didn't need to. They knew where I was. They were just making sure I knew they knew. I started the car again. Cut. I drove until the skyline changed, swapped plates in an empty gas station lot, old military habit, pulled into a 24-hour storage facility, rented a unit, parked the Aston inside, locked the gate. Then I walked 2 miles. Downtown glowed like a blade. I needed help, but not just any help. I needed someone who knew what this case was and why it was worth killing over. Cut. 3 hours later, I was in a diner off Santa Monica Boulevard. Midnight crowd, truckers, drifters, drunks. The safest place to disappear is where no one gives a damn. A woman slid into the booth across from me. Late 50s. Leather jacket, scars where smiles used to be. Maeve Sullivan, NSA dropout, Veronica's old friend. She didn't say hi. She said, "You're 3 days late. You knew I was coming." She tapped the table. Veronica told me if anything ever happened, you'd need a translator. The case in the garage, that's not storage. It's evidence. From Project 47. What the hell is Project 47? Her eyes darkened. Something you helped build. I stared at her. No, I was never part of any black program. I did avionics. Standard issue. No, Daniel, she said. You did the framework. You just didn't know what they plugged it into. Veronica found out. That's when they came for her. Cut. She pulled a napkin from her pocket. On it, 5 digits. A code. Your anniversary, she said. What? It's the passcode to the case. My hands went cold. How do you know that? She told me you'd never forget it. She said, if he opens it, he'll remember who he is. Cut. I stood up, fast. Maeve grabbed my wrist. You open that case, Daniel, and you won't just be the widower. What will I be? Her voice dropped. The final witness. I turned to leave. Behind me, someone dropped a glass. It shattered. Everyone looked. Everyone, except one man at the bar. He was still, watching me through the mirror, eyes locked on mine. I didn't know him, but he didn't blink. And I knew. Right then. This wasn't just betrayal. This was espionage, and now I'm the loose end. We didn't drive to the garage. We doubled back, on foot, through alleys and side streets, until we reached a decommissioned refinery a few blocks away. The air smelled like rusted steel and failed dreams. Maeve pulled her coat tighter. We have 15 minutes, Max. Before what? Before someone picks up your signal. I'm not broadcasting anything. She gave me a look. You think they didn't embed a trace in the car? In the case. In you. She wasn't paranoid. She was experienced. Cut. The garage looked abandoned, but it felt occupied. Still air. Wrong silence. I opened the trunk, typed in the code. Our anniversary. The year we married. The week we met. 5 digits. Enter, click. The case hissed. Cold mist curled out. Inside, a flash drive, a sealed manila folder, and a black notebook with red edges. Maeve's fingers hovered above it like it was rigged. You know what this is? I asked. I know what it could be, she said. She opened the notebook. Handwritten logs, coordinates, design specs. Top right corner stamped in faded red. Project 47. Maeve's voice dropped. They kept it. I thought it was buried. I flipped open the manila folder. Photos. Not weapons. People. Human subjects. Some disfigured. Some gone. Cut. You told me I built a framework, I said. You did. The neural control model. You thought it was for adaptive targeting. It wasn't. What was it for? Maeve stared at one photo. Her jaw clenched. Remote cognition override. They were trying to control minds. Not minds, she said. Bodies. Cut. Outside. Tires screeched. Maeve dropped the folder. We're out of time. A red dot bloomed on the garage wall. Laser. I tackled her as a round punched through the steel door. We crashed behind the Aston Martin. Gunfire tore through shelves. Sparks flew. Glass exploded. They don't want the data, I said, breathless. They want it erased. Maeve crawled toward the back entrance. You ever hotwire a classic in under 10 seconds? I jumped into the driver's seat. Let's find out. Cut. The Aston roared to life. I floored it, garage door halfway up. We blasted through it as rounds followed, sparks behind us, tires burning, streetlights flickering past like Morse code. A black SUV pulled behind us. Maeve threw open the case, shoved the drive into the dashboard USB port, flashing red. Uploading to a live vault. To who? Someone who can't be bribed. Still alive then? She didn't answer. Cut. We hit a freeway ramp, but the SUV stayed close. Closer. Maeve shouted, "Right! Into the channel!" I yanked the wheel. The car jumped the median, down into the concrete spillway. Water, oil, trash. We skidded fishtailed but didn't stop. The SUV followed, but lost control. Crashed into a drainage pipe. Smoke billowed. Maeve looked back. We've got 5 minutes before more show. I blinked sweat from my eyes. Where to? There's a safe house south of Commerce. Veronica knew. She built it. Cut. We reached the warehouse 10 minutes later. Heavy metal doors, fingerprint pad, retinal scanner. Maeve stepped in. Doors sealed. Inside, a clean room, military grade, screens, backup servers. I dropped into a chair, chest tight, head spinning. You okay? She asked. I'm not sure that word applies anymore. She handed me a bottle of water. I said, if truth costs this much, who's left to afford it? Maeve didn't blink. People who've already lost everything. Cut. She plugged in the drive. Footage lit the screen. Veronica, in a dark room, pale, eyes hollow. If this is playing, she said, they got me. Gideon was never just legal counsel. He owned the patents. And Mark, he's not just an heir. He's the pivot. They built the trust in his name. Maeve muttered. Of course they did. Veronica continued. Daniel, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you because I thought I had time, but they always move faster. Her voice cracked. You have to finish this. You're the only one they didn't watch close enough. You're the only one who doesn't owe them anything. Cut. Maeve leaned in. There's a second file. Hidden partition. She opened it. A scanned document appeared. Legal formatting. Signatures. A second will. Veronica's. Notarized. Dated 10 days before her death. Bequeathing everything to me. Not the trust. Not Mark. Me. Why wasn't this filed? I asked. Maeve turned pale. Because Gideon had the recorder killed and replaced the file before probate. It's fraud. Can we prove it? Maeve's eyes narrowed. We just did. Cut. My phone buzzed. News alert. Federal warrant issued for Daniel Harrow. Stolen defense intel. Mental instability claimed by Family Trust. They moved first, faster, harder. Maeve whispered, they're not erasing you. They're rewriting you. If they want what Veronica left behind, they're going to have to kill me for it. The file upload failed. Corrupted sector, Maeve said, yanking the flash drive from the console. It's been tampered with. This wasn't a backup. They set it to self-destruct once activated. Then why haven't they come for us? Oh, they're coming. They just want you to stew first. Makes the takedown cleaner. Narrative's already built. She threw the drive into a lead case and locked it. Cut. We sat in silence. Safe house lights buzzed, screens dark. Outside, wind hit the metal walls like fingers testing for weakness. Maeve pulled a battered binder from the shelf. Inside were old NSA logs, flagged emails, payment trails, shell company networks, the kind of info that never sees sunlight without a body count. She laid it flat between us. Look at the name. Third page. Recipient, Gideon Stark Sender. Blake Harlow, Trust Security Liaison. Subject, Daniel Harrow. Contingency. I read the body twice. You're a loose thread, Maeve said. And in this world, loose threads don't just get cut. They get buried. You ever think some people are born just to be used? Maeve shook her head. No one's born a weapon, but some of us let ourselves be held like one. Cut. A ping echoed from the console. Live news feed. Flashing red. Maeve clicked. There I was. My face. Full screen. Harrow accused of stealing classified intel. Former military contractor suffers mental break. Family expresses concern over erratic behavior. Mark stood at a podium, suited, composed, snake in a tie. I loved Daniel like a father, he said, but it's clear now he needs help, not handcuffs. I nearly crushed the water bottle in my hand. That smug bastard's framing me while flashing my wife's ring on national television. Maeve didn't look away. The louder the lie, the faster it spreads. Cut. We packed fast. The safe house had already served its time. Maeve loaded up a drive into a weatherproof case and strapped it under the back seat. There's enough in here to trigger a grand jury if we get it to the right person. Who? She handed me a contact. Nolan Reyes, a former Department of Justice investigator, disgraced, disbarred, disappeared, but not gone. He's clean. Broke the Project 37 leak 6 years ago. They burned him for it. He's been living off-grid ever since. Where? Joshua Tree. Cut. We made it to the outskirts before sunrise. Desert wind carved patterns through the sand. Sky bled orange. Then sirens. 3 cruisers. Roadblock up ahead. Maeve spun the wheel. They're not cops. We veered off-road, tires biting gravel. Shots rang out. Rear view cracked. Maeve screamed, "Hold it steady!" I did. She yanked a pistol from the glove box. Returned fire. The SUV behind us fishtailed. We reached a side rail. Metal. Rusted. She pointed. "Bridge up ahead. Dirt trail under it. Take it!" I turned sharp. Dust clouded. We vanished under the overpass. Engines roared above. Then silence. Cut. We didn't speak until we hit Nolan's marker, a barely visible X carved into an abandoned phone pole. Maeve stepped out, scanned with a thermal lens. Someone's inside. She drew her weapon. I followed slow. Cabin door creaked open. Inside, maps, cans, oxygen tanks, and a man. Gray beard. Scar across his temple. "Nolan?" Maeve called. He raised his hands. "Relax, I saw the news. Figured you'd find me." We showed him the drive. He didn't flinch. "You want justice? You'll need more than this. You'll need noise. Big public noise." "We've got the second will," I said. "Veronica named me sole heir. Gideon covered it up." He looked at me. Long. Careful. "And you think they'll let you speak without a price?" "I don't care what they do to me." "Then you're ready." Cut. We burned copies of everything. Set up auto-upload triggers. Public leak in T-minus 48 hours. Unless we die first. Maeve stayed to guard the cabin. I headed for the train station, disguised, ticket in hand. Nolan rigged a dead drop inside a library locker in downtown L.A. We agreed. Split up. Divide risk. Force exposure. When I reached the station, I knew something was wrong. Too quiet. Too clean. Security too stiff for a local line. My name buzzed through radios. I slipped behind a vending machine. Texted Maeve. No reply. Train arrival echoed. I ran. Just as the whistle blew, a hand grabbed my collar. I twisted, elbowed hard. Agent went down. I leapt onto the train. Doors slammed. Then, gunfire. I ducked. Crowd screamed. I crawled between seats. Train jerked forward. I was in, but Maeve wasn't. Cut. My phone buzzed. One message. Her location compromised. They have her. Then, one last voice message from Maeve. Static. Breathing. Then, go to the lighthouse. It's all there. They erased my name. Now I'll burn down theirs. The lighthouse loomed like a jagged memory against the fog-thick sky. Wind lashed sideways. Salt burned my eyes. The door wasn't locked. Inside it smelled of rust and old books. A single bulb flickered. On a battered desk. Photos, documents, and one tiny voice recorder. I pressed play. Maeve's voice. Clear, calm, final. If you're hearing this, it means I didn't make it. That's okay. We knew the cost. This is the truth. All of it. Cut. Inside the box. Everything. Notarized copies of the original will. Emails from Mark admitting the forgeries. Bank transfers routing stolen funds into offshore accounts tied to Gideon's aliases. And recordings. Calls between Mark and a senior judge planning to dismiss any probate claim I filed. I uploaded it all, triggered the scheduled leak. One file went to a Pulitzer-winning journalist in D.C., another to Reyes, third to the Department of Justice's whistleblower division. There's no going back once you light the match. And this wasn't a match. It was napalm. Cut. Court date. Media swarmed the building. My face splashed across tabloids and primetime feeds. Daniel Harrow, disgraced widower turned rogue whistleblower. I stood before the bench. The courtroom dense with tension. Judge Elkins presided. Gray suit, thin lips, sharp eyes. He began to speak, but was interrupted by a bailiff. Whispers. A USB drive passed. Elkins played the audio file Maeve left behind. Mark's voice bled through the speakers. We'll make Daniel look like a senile fool. All we need is Elkins to play along. The rest falls in place. Gasps. Cameras clicked like machine guns. Judge Elkins froze. Color drained from his face. He cleared his throat, then spoke. This court suspends all prior rulings pending a federal investigation. Mr. Harrow's inheritance claim is reinstated. Immediate seizure of Blake Harlow assets approved. It was over. Not clean. Not without scars, but over. Cut. After the verdict, I walked out into the sunlight. It felt like something I hadn't earned, like I was wearing someone else's life, because Maeve wasn't beside me, and revenge never tastes like justice. Not really. Someone asked me what I'd do next. I looked toward the city skyline where towers gleamed like teeth. I'll rebuild the garage, I said. Why? I smiled, faint. Because when they burn down your home, you don't build higher, you build deeper. Cut. Weeks later, they found Mark in Tijuana. Wrist slit. No note. Some said suicide. I didn't believe it. Gideon disappeared. No trace. Interpol, NSA, even rogue bounty networks couldn't find him. Men like him never disappear. They just wait for the world to forget. But I won't. Not while I breathe. Cut. The garage sits quiet now. Steel door fixed. Dust cleared. One wall holds photos. Veronica, Maeve, Nolan, even a clipped newspaper photo of me with the headline, One Man's. Garage, another man's war. I sit at the workbench most nights. Sometimes someone stops by. A neighbor, a kid with a busted carburetor, a vet looking for work. I help, quietly, because purpose doesn't need applause. It just needs doing. And because pain, real pain, doesn't need to be loud to be seen. Cut. You don't fight monsters by becoming one. You fight them by standing, even when it breaks you, even when the system says, sit down, even when your name is buried under headlines soaked in lies. Truth is the only blade they can't dull forever. And legacy? Legacy isn't what you leave. It's what you protect, even when no one's watching, even when they say you're already dead.